Hello and welcome back to the Raspberry Podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by Hooman Tavakolian and once again by Saeed Esmaeli. Hooman is a former wrestler, a wrestling coach, a sports diplomat, and he is in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Hooman does a lot of charitable work. He works for organizations such as Beat the Streets and has his own charity called Humanities. He does a lot of stuff giving back to communities in the United States, but also actually around the world. He's done stuff like rebuild wrestling centers that have been blown up by ISIS in Afghanistan and stuff like that. So he definitely believes, as you'll hear in this podcast, a lot about the responsibility of athletes to give back through the sport and to the sport that gave stuff to them. And you'll see a lot of that, or you'll hear about a lot of that on this podcast. But yeah, he does a lot of incredible work, and it was a great pleasure sitting down with him and Saeed, who also, he was on the podcast in the past with Lee Kemp, has his own charitable organizations going on, Wrestling for Humanity, also trying to give back to the community. So it was great to chat to these two guys about doing good stuff through the sport. Check it out. So first, I'd like to say Mo and Saeed, thank you very much for joining me. Mo, it's great to have you on here. Saeed, great to have you back.
I'll find a way to come back here, right?
You keep on bringing me great guests, and I can't say no, can I?
I'm your groupie. I got to figure out.
So firstly, like always, I kind of want to get a little bit of a background to yourself. So I know that you're born in Iran.
Yep.
And you came over to the States very early, but you didn't start wrestling until you came over to the States, right?
Correct, yeah. I mean, I came to the States when I was 9 years old in 1986, and I guess my parents wanted me to get involved with sports right away, so I would stay out of trouble while they worked during the day. So They said, you know what, wrestling is the way to go, and it was a national sport in Iran. So they put me in wrestling, and that's when I started. Meanwhile, when I was young, I used to always wrestle my younger cousins always.
Because there's a deep history in Iran with wrestling, right?
It's inscribed in its literature, the poetry. I mean, if you study the Persian Empire, it's always there. One of the biggest and the highest title you could get is a Pahlavani, which a lot of the athletes got. So it's engraved in every person there. It's the craziest thing when there's a wrestling event in Iran, the whole country watches. It's
Were you not
part of the
awarded
culture.
Pahlavani recently?
Huh?
Well, awarded?
Yeah, actually, I was just given the bicep of chivalry.
So what? Sorry, what did you say it was called again?
It's called the bicep of chivalry.
Okay, and the translation was, what was that?
The Pahlavani.
Pahlavani. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like a medal of honor in the wrestling world.
Yes, yeah. So it's pretty much like the old Japanese honor system.
Wow.
So you got to do like acts of kindness, help society. It's not only about the medals. So obviously I don't have the medals, but I do a lot of charity work around the sport of wrestling.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you have in Iran. It's very like built into the culture, but I think it's quite like that in the States as well, where like everyone, probably not as much as in Iran, but it's still very much celebrated. Obviously everyone wrestles, or a lot of people wrestle as kids, whereas you come over to the UK and there's kind of, boxing is in the past was really big in the UK and in England, but now there's like no combat sports that are really built into the culture. It's actually quite sad.
Yeah, like with the US, it's part of the whole educational system. I mean, which is very different than Iran. Iran is club-based, just like everybody else.
So you don't learn it in schools?
No, exactly. So in the American school system, we start wrestling in younger age, like it was at 5th, 6th, 7th grade. We start going, and it's part of the whole curriculum. And then from there,
does that everyone wrestles or?
Pretty much it's one of the sports, right? So it's the same season as basketball. So a lot of people choose wrestling, men wrestle, and then you got the basketball at the same time. So what we did was I wrestled 7th and 8th grade, and then went through high school. 4 years of high school, we wrestled there. And then from there, you go to the college system. Yeah. The NCAAs, which is the most exciting wrestling in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah. But, also one of the really interesting things about wrestling, from my perspective anyway, is that there isn't, unless you're in the Olympic team, there's not a lot of places to go with wrestling once you leave university, or what in the States you call college.
Exactly. So after college, and you do a 4-year run for the Olympics, right? Yeah. And if you don't make it that far, and then what do you do next?
Yeah.
Right?
It's like you kind of sacrifice.
Become Saeed, right?
you sacrifice a huge part, all child athletes, they're sacrificing their entire childhood to try and get to, and then you end up becoming close to professional level in a sport that
Definitely.
doesn't have
Yeah.
any professional, no place to go.
There's
from
no
that.
outlet there.
Yeah,
But now
exactly.
you got Bellator and UFC, which is kind of helping.
A lot
kind
of
feeder
them are moving
program now.
into the-
If
to-
you notice
to
Bellator,
MMA.
a lot of them
Yeah.
are NCAA wrestlers
Yeah.
that are actually succeeding in that. And then also UFC right now. You got Henry Cejudo that just
Yeah.
crushed it.
Have you
So-
ever trained with Henry? Or did you?
Yeah, Henry actually came to my work in New York. He was in town, and then he stopped by to say hi.
No way.
Yeah, he's a dear friend
Yeah.
of ours. Yep.
Funny enough, Lee Camp coached him for 2008 when he won the Olympics.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And Daniel as well, Daniel Cormier.
Really?
So they were part of the
lead
team.
work. Lead work.
Lee Camp was one of the national coaches for that Olympics.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's just killed it. You know, he's like one of the pound for pound best in the world now. There seems to be something because a lot of these wrestlers like Daniel Cormier and Henry Cejudo are coming in, and yeah, they're using their wrestling to begin with, but actually they're cementing their legacy by knocking people out. Same with Cormier. It's like it seems to be the work ethic that wrestling gives you seems to just build up. You can do anything afterwards.
But you know, did they even contribute to, just on a personal level for me, they contributed a lot of, I can reference now because I was getting hired out to do seminars. Saeed, can you teach us from the cage? You know, just particularly, can you teach us the double? Can you not, where the head is not going? All this kind of, stuff was there. Now you see wrestling in the middle, so we're wrestling in the situations everywhere.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Now I can reference, I can more freely go and do my seminars without arguing in the middle of a seminar. The wrestling does work here.
Yeah.
Because they've seen it now. So these guys contribute in that sense for coaches also.
I think it's a great foundation wrestling for any other mixed martial arts or anything like that. I think it's a lot easier to transition from wrestling to adapt into like BJJ
Yeah.
than if you're a BJJ trying to get into that wrestling.
Do you think that's a technical thing, or do you think that's like a work thing?
I think it's also maybe both.
Yeah.
To me, just our trainings were just so hard and severe in college. I mean, the trainings that we had, our practices, we would have practice in the morning, practice at night, and that kind of makes you mentally very tough.
Yeah.
You know, you're down by 10 points, most people would just give up.
Yeah, you do hear that a lot. Like the stereotype is that the wrestlers have this incredible work ethic and they train incredibly hard, and they're just like some of the toughest athletes in the world. They've done competitions where they've got like all different athletes to do these variety of different sports, and the wrestlers
I think
always seem
there's-
to be the
yeah.
most successful.
But for my personal level, I came in because I look at movement because I'm dancing also. I came in with the different side of it. So now there's a little time came when I worked with Carlos Lamas Jr. and he was saying, "Oh, Saeed, you got this gentle." What you guys call it, gentle art of, BJJ.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at movement. One of the difficulties I had, this stigma with wrestling, you're going to have to kill yourself, where we don't realize sometimes how does a wrestler became that kind of a body, the system they have from the age of 5, they develop their body to be able to do that.
It's because
So what
they're starting so
yeah.
young.
So what happens here? All of a sudden, we got a BJJ guy. He's not resilient to. He hasn't adapted himself
Yeah.
throughout the years of age of 5. When
Yeah.
we see 5-year-olds, they're playing games a lot. Does that's kind of been ignored? We just put him in a wrestling room. As a wrestler, coming big necks and stuff, do that. So to a body, we're like, wow, this is just too much. So we just lose them. And that was the difficulty I had to go in to BJJ clubs. So doing a seminar or a teach, or say you can utilize wrestling, they were like, oh, it's a bit too much. We can get injured.
too hard.
Injury was coming out.
Yeah.
Now they're realizing there is other types of it. So, for example, fluid type of Iranian wrestling. Now I got a guy, he just doesn't touch you. He doesn't. He's so foxy. He's waiting around. He's just slipping away, and all he does, he comes in and he just catches your knee and just pulls it. He catches everyone on it. He went to the British, just smashed through British, just because he had the fluid type, completely different type of style of wrestling.
I think the style of wrestling in the American colleges forces you to go hardcore. It's just that whole mentality. Because I remember my coach used to tell me, you wrestle 6 minutes nonstop till the referee pulls you off.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality of NCAA wrestling, in my opinion.
And my question was going to be, does that mentality come from the United States, or is that from somewhere else? Which you kind of already answered that question, which is very different in Iran, right?
It is very different. Like if you see the Russians,
Different
they're very
systems,
finesse.
Oh, really?
Iran, same thing,
Elegance.
very finesse.
And foxy, right?
And
Iran.
very
Iran's
sly,
foxy.
very like, they wait to see action, reaction. Whereas
So actually
here,
the-
That Gable
Americans
came
are-
out, All Out came in with Dan Gable. Was like 12 rounds. We go 12 rounds. 3 rounds. We go to
Yeah.
All Out wrestling came. It was that fashion kind of came from Iowa wrestling, right?
exactly. Iowa, go.
Really?
I mean, you
Go,
should see
go.
their workouts on.
Yeah, I've
on-
seen
on
some of them. I was
YouTube.
watching
So
some
that's
of them
the thing.
recently, yeah.
And then when you go against somebody from the East, they kind of wait for you to make that mistake. They wait for opportunities, or they create opportunities. Whereas here, I remember we used to be told, you keep on going till you score that 2 points.
Yeah.
You throw him out of the circle. You run him. When you shoot a double leg, don't stop. Go into the bleachers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the mentality. Go, go, go.
So where you see with the Iranian wrestling or Russian sort of wrestling in terms of the fluidity, which is very adaptable to BJJ.
Yeah.
Grappling sort of side of it.
More so than
but
the
you
Americans.
can switch over. So with my stuff, when I work with the tile boxing guys, I mean, Dean James is 4 times world champion now, and he's under Tony, you know?
Yeah.
They're high up guys. And when we work on a clinch side of it, I don't work on a technique side of it, Daniel. I get them to pop the hip back. So like a duck undercomer, pop the hip back so the head drops. They can rotate the body, which is a rotation side of it, very Greco-based, upper half more of wrestling. When he's out of the position, dirty boxing such as Randy Couture, then the punches was coming in. So he was only working on off-balancing rather than actual, say, double. And that's a misconception that comes in. They say, oh, let's get a side. They say, well, wrestling is a little bit brutal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about wrestling. I'm talking about the mechanism of wrestling. How does wrestling work in terms of body rotation?
Sure.
Does that make sense? So I think the conversation of what wrestling is, it can really start expanding where it's going to go, which I'm particularly interested in, you know, because of how do you adapt it? Yep. And for me, we just said Henry Cejudo. For me, that was one of the most profound matches he had with, what's his name? Dimitri.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at that match, there is so many wrestling positions they counter, even with the eye coming changing positions, where average eye doesn't see more than just a double leg attack. Where there's so much more to wrestling and just say boxing is not just a left hook.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I think it expands where wrestling is, and wrestling, I don't know if you agree with me, is one of those it's a never ending story. When you start breaking it down, which I'm interested in again, playing. So I've just scrapped I'm not against the Olympic medal, but I'm saying wrestling can contribute more towards other sports society, other things such as rituals and stuff.
Yeah.
The wrestling has more to offer than us. We're saying we're going to the path of Olympic dream. When that's gone, our whole life is kind of taken away from us. Yeah. So many of us fall into depression. A lot of wrestlers fall into the trap of going towards crime. I don't know if you agree with that, but you do see a lot of like mafia-based sort of countries, you know, they've got a lot of wrestlers involved in them. So the body in the society, can it only go towards that way? Or does wrestling can offer a little bit more than that?
Is that comes from sort of having all of these guys focused towards the one goal of medaling in the Olympics or going to the Olympics, and then once they come out and they don't,
the thing is, a lot of these countries that third world countries, that's the only way out of poverty, right? That's the only way. Because when I do my charity work around the world, I ask one of the kids, why do you want to be on the national team? He wants to experience an airplane. Because my dad never was on a plane. Right? Well, so to him,
that's profound,
he's
right?
hungry to get a spot on that national team so he could take even a local trip to another city. Just imagine how that person would react at the Junior World Championships.
Yeah.
So to them, it's just an opportunity. And then what happens if you get injured? That's it. They're devastated. And that's when, like you said, they look at alternative paths like crime, terrorism.
Yeah. So you kind of have to use some of the lessons that you get from wrestling and actually apply it outside of purely sport.
See, to me, that wrestling mat, that is the real world.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's you against your opponent. Your opponent could be your doubts, your failures, job, relationship. So if you could take your training and apply it to everyday life, I think that's what wrestling is about.
You know, based on what Mo's saying, I was really interested to look at the descriptive sort of philosophical, observation, perhaps. Wrestling gives this description of is a takedown, right? So even with marketing, say takedown, with the clothes or whatever, is a game of takedown. I personally don't see wrestling as a game of takedown.
Okay.
One of the 5 rules of wrestling: head up, back straight, hip is low, off your knees, stay on your feet. Now, I want to concentrate, meditate on staying on your feet. To me, wrestling is a game of standing on your feet. So I'll off-balance you. In the moment you're vulnerable, I'll do my takedown. But you're doing the same thing. So it's the art of not takedown, it's the art of standing on your feet. So you're maintaining it. So from philosophical point of view, description, you can say that is resilience. Because when you go down, we're constantly trying to give. So if I'm on my dab or on my knee, I need to get off to do the drive. Drive is one of the key essentials for the finish, say a leg attack, perhaps, in one type, particularly say a folk style or, there's a lot of drive. When the pointing system now changed to make it more, applicable for the audience, Now wrestling's changed based on a shorter period of time, and a lot of points are just, coming forward. Wrestling is very much like this
More
now.
action now.
Yeah, but where you used to see a lot of Lee Camp sort of era, there was a lot of technical stuff we don't even see. There's a lot of lost techniques out there. Yeah. Sometimes I go there when I'm teaching and they think I'm doing something wonderful. It's not, because I had that from that era. It gave me those. For him, it was normal. Now it's lost. We don't really see it.
I think you see with everything with the trend or the style comes in waves or in cycles, where you'll see stuff now where if you can show a jiu-jitsu technique that they were doing 50 years ago and they'll think that you're doing some magic from the future, where actually that's old stuff. And
it was
same with the stuff
one
that's
making
there
a
now.
point here is say the pointing system.
Yeah.
You made a very good, when we were driving, you said about your last match, depending on the time. So you have to adapt to the rules of that's a strategy of winning, isn't it?
Yeah.
So certain things become fashion because just say pointing system. They're trying to win there, aren't they? So it becomes winning. That's one idea of it. So that's great. But my research is going to be based on is wrestlers are resilient to go through this crazy system to make it over there if you last your resilient type, or does wrestling make you resilient? Because that's two different questions, right? So so if I cannot make it for any reason, can I still, same as BJJ, the term true side of it, BJJ for everybody, can that not be applied to the same thing, wrestling for everybody too, or is it wrestling just for robots?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I cater my seminars for grandmothers. That's a metaphor I got in my own head. If a grandmother can do it or understand it, I'm okay. I've done my job. If you think I'm shit, then I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
That's your opinion. But I've done my job is not just for the robots, not just the ones who just made it, not the ones that, so making it more applicable for the bigger audience. And different methods for life. Wrestling, Izzy Martinez, he's got that slogan, isn't it? Wrestling is life.
Yep.
From USA. I don't know if you know him.
Yep.
But that comes up, which one of the things is, say, Senegal wrestling is a way out of getting to poverty. Yeah. Iranian wrestling, when a man reaches a certain standard in the society, he's got responsibility to give back. And it's based on rituals of virtue based. Does that make sense? So you'll have to give it back. So this is something I found watching Mo's work online. He was giving it back, and he was like, he had his own job. It's an extra thing he's doing.
Sure.
So when you got an extra thing going, hobby, for a love of it, I want to remain. I went out, experience. That's me. I'm adventuring because I want to find out what's going on. I'm I'm playing around with it. But I come back. For me, amateur means more than being a pro.
Sure.
Why? Because I'm doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing it for utility or even pleasure.
Yeah.
Because virtue based. So my dad, for example, came from Iran. Couldn't speak English. Yeah. 3 times in his experience, he's lost totally everything. So restating hope. So I've been reading his work. I'm saying restating hope. Now I want to look what really hope is. Digging in deeper on what hope is. Dad came in, just his own story. Went in there, rebuilt life. Even with the gangs with the Bristols, he used to make a phone call that they had to stop. These were the guys who were walking in clubs and areas. People just move away. They had to stop. They had to come to the gym. They had to sit down. They had to shake hands first. Their bodyguards, the boys, they weren't allowed in. But people thought that was special. I'm going against my daddy, and I'm saying, but he wasn't special. It was part of many wrestlers of a Pahlavi sort of era. It came from that tradition from Iran, which this is the modern version of what Mo is doing. What Mo is doing, Dad's doing. This is just, the idea of, say, samurais with the Japanese. So that's an Iranian thing. And Iran's story has always been lost, if you look at it. Whatever way you want to look at it, we don't hear much about it. So this is what we said about the poetry, with the literature. You always see wrestling. One of the things, there's symbolic figures within the society. It is about that helping. It's about giving, which I was interested in. Do you know what I mean? If I'm changing your life in many ways, you know what I mean? Or I have a beautiful watch. If you take that watch away, okay, does it really make a different state to me? Do you know what I mean? Or if I get my dopamine working from neuroscience point of view, I'm happy and stuff. Lovely time ago, oh, someone's looking at me side, you're wonderful. We'll flick my, hair dysmorphia. I'm wonderful. Then I do something for you that changes you. Every time I remember that makes me feel good. I'm still releasing that dopamine in my head.
Sure.
So that feeling good is important for me with these kids. Feeling good and doing good is a two different matter for me.
Sure.
There's a whole social responsibility aspect to every athlete. I think every athlete owes it to the sport, to themselves, and also to society.
Yeah.
To give back one way or another. I mean, some people do it financially. Some people devote their time and show technique for free doing seminars. But I feel like all of us athletes, former athletes, current athletes, future athletes, we have a social responsibility.
Yeah, and it means that it passes on to the next generation, and then
Exactly.
you receive the benefits from the previous generation, and then you pass on. And then
Exactly. I mean, who's a Frederick Douglass? One of my favorite quotes is, it's easier to build strong kids than it is to, I guess, fix adults, broken adults.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the future is here. I mean, it's evident. Recently, I helped rebuild a gym in Kabul that was bombed by ISIS.
Yeah,
And then
I heard about this. Yeah.
So I stepped in with my charity, and the U.S. wrestling community and also people around the world all gave money. And I kept on thinking, if we don't take a step right now, those kids that were affected will definitely join some sort of a group to get back.
Yeah.
So we were quickly acting on it, went in and showed them, hey, us here on the west side of the world, we do care about you.
Yeah.
And no strings attached. We didn't want anything in return.
Right? So you didn't know that?
I didn't know anyone.
Wow.
All I know, I saw a New York Times article that said 30 kids were blown up.
Wow.
Some guy walked in with a gym bag with explosives and blew them up.
Wow.
So then I just reinstated hope in them. I tell them, hey, it's a dark world. I know, I get it.
And it's important that that's come from the United States as well.
Exactly. The so-called enemy, the Westerns, that we drink alcohol. But hey, we still believe in humanity. I think the best prayer, the best religion is humanity, in my opinion. And that's what we were able to do.
Compassion is not, he hasn't got a passive orientation there. So you sending out a little message out there. When I said about that there, then they tried to change the name of the street after him because so much help went out. Now through that, he's a student, so you see him doing the same thing. So you're teaching someone. That kid has been helped now. He's always going to remember that. That can have a little butterfly effect there.
It's amazing. That kid that's 10 years old will remember this for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
That somebody from the West, a number of people gave money to buy these mats for us. And that's my goal. I go to the Middle East twice a year, and I go to these broken down gyms in Iran, in some areas that, it's funny because my cousin that lives there goes, I've never been to this area. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So we go there, and these kids are just so shocked that somebody from America, New York, is here in their gym.
Yeah.
And just high-fiving them. I even refed one of the matches, and they were so excited. And I told them all, if you guys continue with the sport and you guys make the national team, I'll give you a pair of Nike shoes. And that promise enough.
Yeah.
They keep on going. They don't get involved with drugs.
Yeah.
And if any of them stray, the coach calls me and I reach out to them.
Wow.
Or they reach out to me on Instagram and I respond. I try to respond to every single person.
That's awesome.
And then just one pair of shoes just changes the direction of their lives.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So you obviously have like a big connection still with Iran. It's kind of funny that you only started wrestling when you came to the United States.
Exactly.
Where it's so built into the culture in Iran. Obviously, there's a reason that you started when you were in the United States.
It's funny because wrestling is the blue-collar working-class man's sport, always around the world. I mean, and I was being raised as a rich boy in Iran till we came to America and we were hit with poverty.
Yeah.
And then boom, it's funny how karma works.
Yeah.
Now my parents put me in wrestling. Whereas if I was in Iran...
So when you're in Iran, you didn't do it because...
No way. They would say, no, this is not it. You got to play soccer or tennis.
Oh, really?
So, I mean...
There's a saying, never give your daughter to a wrestler.
Really?
That's true.
So that's what happened. And then that's, I think because of my life situation and what happened to us being raised in poverty, wrestling helped me just survive and stand on my feet.
Your family left Iran because there was
a war going on. Yeah, in '86, I remember it was bombings. The sirens would go on, and we would run downstairs. And then in 1986, we decided to migrate to the U.S.
Wow.
So I was 9 years old, and my brother was 5.
And you didn't speak. I imagine you couldn't speak
not a
any
lick.
English.
I just had to say water and thank you.
Wow. So what was that like as coming over and kind of having to start your life? Like, did wrestling play a big part in sort of your development?
So when we moved into this affluent, rich neighborhood. And I obviously didn't fit in because I was poor. Like my mom would cut my hair and you could just say it was all crooked.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So that to me was a big struggle, trying to fit in. And I never fit in my high school or my schooling. And wrestling was a way. I mean, I was able to work out and be similar with everybody else.
Yeah.
And that
Because
kind of
there's
helped me.
that equality on the mats, you know. It doesn't matter how rich you are. If
Exactly. We all wear the same singlet.
Exactly.
And to me, that was able to prove who I am. I
Yeah.
really am. And that's how I was able to get all my friends on the wrestling mat. And that helped me stay focused,
Yeah.
not to bitch at my parents of why I don't have this and why I don't have that. I just needed a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Get a
interesting.
sense of belonging, right?
Exactly. I mean, I felt like I fit in. I was contributing. Whereas
Sure.
normally I wouldn't be able to contribute. These kids had Mercedes and BMWs and something I wasn't raised with.
Yeah.
I guess what you said about about a kid with the Nike shoes, when you're giving them, you also sending out a little message to the kids say you are lovable. Sense of belonging, being lovable. I am lovable.
The good that it
focus.
does just by that act of kindness, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Just taking a picture with somebody, and that's
Yeah.
why I think all the athletes should have that social responsibility. I'm just trying to give back. I know it's hard. I get requests all day, and I can't fulfill everyone's request. So I kind of work it out. I make a deal with them. Hey,
Wasn't that said by Prophet Muhammad? Even a smile is charity.
Yeah.
there you go. What was it Muhammad Ali said too, right? It's you're helping others is the rent you pay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
To live on this earth.
To
Yeah,
live on
that's
this
right.
earth.
Yeah.
I think that's very powerful statements.
And I like that as an athlete. People look up to them more.
Yeah.
I think anyone, regardless of their social standing or their
You are being watched, right?
yeah, by everyone. Smiling to someone on the street that you don't know is might change their life. They might have been having a bad day. Maybe
Exactly.
they go a bit better. But I think from when you do become more well known, whether it's in sport or whether it's in entertainment or music or anything, more people, you have more power to affect people's lives in a negative way or in a positive way. And I think it's very important to
Compassion
actually,
is silence.
yeah,
Just a look. I'm here.
yeah.
I can sit here with you. You know what I mean?
But I do like the idea that the athletes should feel that they actually do have a responsibility to give back to humanity as a whole.
No, I agree. I mean, it just if everyone just did a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be writing a check. I think writing a check is so easy, right? Because you're like, I don't want to deal with this crap. Yeah, here's a check. But when you take time out and just go to a gym and just stand there, if you're a basketball player, shoot one-on-one with a kid.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised what kind of impact you have on that kid's life. Because I still remember the first time I met one of the Iranian wrestlers when they came to New York, like Rasul Khadem, who now I acted as his liaison, now older. To me,
Yeah.
that was just a dream come true. Just like Cale Sanderson when I see him. And I work with all these guys now, all these like famous U.S. wrestlers. And I'm like, oh my God, when I was a kid, I used to look up to you guys.
Yeah.
Now you guys come to me and I take you guys on these trips to Iran. So it's just, it's one of those everlasting, or even like my kids right now. My oldest son tells his classmates, obviously girls, my dad's famous. He helps people.
Yeah.
He gives people shoes.
I had one of them today.
But what an awesome thing to be boasted. What an awesome claim, right?
Exactly.
Talking about that connection between you and Iran, and it was just something I was thinking earlier when you're talking about the different styles. The American style is quite a hard and tough style of wrestling, and you said the Russian and the Iranian style is more flowing and a little bit more graceful. Being from Iran and having that connection, but being trained in the United States, did you try and get a little bit of that Iranian style back?
So
or
the funniest
are you
memory-
US wrestling through and through?
I came here when I was 8 or 9, and then I went through the whole American system. So I didn't know anything about Iranian style of wrestling.
yeah.
Until my junior year in college. That summer, I decided to go back to Iran for the first time to train.
Wow.
And let
How
me
was
tell
that?
you,
How was that?
it was, first of all, it was unbelievable, but I almost got jumped the first 2 days in practice because I was going the American style.
Too hard.
Aggressive headbutt, choking,
Wow.
front headlock. I would try to make the guy choke.
Well, also, can you share with Daniel or the audience who could be watching this? It was quite interesting because I think I messaged you when the World Championship was on. What was it last time?
In Budapest?
Budapest, yeah. And the Iranian kids from Iran, they haven't got much facilities, have they?
No, they don't.
Do you know the way that? I mean, there's a difference between a guy. It has its advantages, disadvantages on both sides. I get that. You know what I mean? Well, where the guy is being provided with his sleeping's okay. You know, haven't got worries about his bills. He's not in a state of anxiety or fight or flight mode. With Iranian kids, whenever you talk to them as a Saeed, we constantly worried. One of them was telling me, that's why I heard. He said, I didn't have a money to buy myself even a Coca-Cola, get some sugar in me before I go on a mat.
Wow.
This is a national team. There's a difference. And I think, I really appreciate this. A lot of the American wrestlers also, they acknowledge this. I don't know. I mean, you're more in contact with them. But when I talk to some of them, they say, Saeed, we get it. Some of these guys, they haven't got it, but they get in the final, they give us a hard time for not having anything.
That's all heart and passion.
Yeah.
Some of those opponents you get, I was in Cuba in June, and their training facilities is a dump.
Yeah.
And they constantly have medalists. So
Yeah,
I always
they're
wonder.
savages. The Cubans are just.
I always wonder, what if they had the appropriate facilities? But I don't know if
you
they would
always-
still be hungry.
But that's the thing. You almost like the luxury makes you weak.
The
a little
dark
bit.
driver was what I
Exactly.
was speaking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Spoiled. Just like how we travel, right? Compared to some of the teams when they travel. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to have my own bed and my own bathroom. Meanwhile, there's like 4 of them in one room on the floor.
Do you know they're saying about the dark drive? I was watching Facing Ali. It's on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
I was watching it with from my end, the mindset of from the dark drive. And they said a very interesting thing, a part of it. They said when Fraser fought Ali, he from that era, he had a lot more hard time within the society. Being black then, he was darker, he was poorer, all these things. He was fighting to get out of that. So he had more drive to win, you know. But he said interesting when Ali went to Foreman said this. When Ali went to Africa coming back, he no longer was fighting for that gold medal. He was fighting for Africa. His drive. So I wonder with the Iranians, their dark drive. You know?
It's funny. I always have this discussion with the U.S. team. So when you ask an Iranian, what are you wrestling for? They always say, first God, then my country, then my family.
Wow.
Then it's a higher power. It's more than them.
Whereas me, I won't talk about any other athlete, American athlete, but for myself, I wanted to win that first place trophy.
Yeah.
That's
for
the
you.
system. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to win. It was always about me. As I got older, I guess I became more humbled and more, it's just gratitude, right? Just like you said, compassion and gratitude. I think gratitude is one of the most important things in life.
Yeah, I appreciate what I have.
Yeah. So I think that's the difference with a lot of the athletes from around the world that don't have what we have and we take for
Can I introduce something
granted.
there? Gratitude, if I'm saying it for myself, I appreciate what I got. I can't have more than that. I will get most of that last squeeze with a towel, what the proverb Indians got. I'm not going to ruin it by saying it, but the last squeeze, they get the last squeeze out of that. Do you see what I mean? And that becomes adaptation. Now I'm adapting to to my environment with what I've got.
Yeah.
So, mental toughness. Just before going on the mat, some little things. I remember I got slapped by my coach once. I was fiddling about with my boots. I had a little bit, obviously, anxiety was kicking in. We were going, I kept like opening and closing it. I just needed to fit just exact what I like to do. He slapped me in the head. He said, you don't get points for your pretty boots, Saeed. Get up and warm up. You got a match coming up. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the adaptation there, the last squeeze there, gratitude is interesting.
Yep. I mean, that's just been my little potion. I always say compassion, gratitude. You always got to be thankful. And just then there's a whole line of, I guess, the difference between cockiness and confidence. I think that's a lot of people get that mixed up.
Yeah.
It's okay to be confident in yourself and your skills.
Yeah.
But I think that's when people go to the dark side and become too cocky.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind
You
of
can self-celebrate, can you?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm all about
Silence
that.
sometimes is
And also respect, right? When you're facing your opponent, that person has gone through this whole same training. So a mutual respect is fine. And obviously the better man always wins.
Yeah.
And just being able to respect each other.
Yeah. So going back to your first time training in Iran, you said firstly you went a little bit too hard, that American style, and
Yeah, and the funny thing was there was about 70 kids in the gym. Some of them didn't have shoes on, and that's where I started. It was in 1998 when I started to bringing back shoes for my wrestling teammates in college.
Okay.
I would bring the used ones back in, and they were so happy. And I'm like, these are used Asics.
you would bring them back for the kids in the
Yeah, for my
US.
gym.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I would go take from the U.S.
Oh,
my college
to-
teammates. I would collect their used wrestling shoes.
Iran?
Yeah, I would make them
Oh,
give it to me.
wow.
So, and I'll never forget the first day of practice. The coach would walk around with a stick, and if you were stalling and not active, he would whack you in the ass.
Yeah.
And he would make you just hustle and move, and that's how he would do. I mean, he didn't hit me because I was a guest there.
Yeah.
But I remember I was just very rough going at it first. And then I remember that when he said, go with him, we shook hands, and I went right away, 120%, nonstop, headbutting. I got him in a front headlock, and I'm choking him out. And the guy's tapping to let go, and I didn't care. I was going to do my front roll and get my points and stand on top of him.
That's all you knew.
That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And then he got up, and he got in my face, and then I'll never forget, I was just like this cocky, young 21-year-old that was raised in America, big, muscular. And then the coach goes, kiss him to make up. I said, kiss who? So he was trying to make me kiss the guy, and I'm like, no, dude, that's not what we do where I come from. I mean, let me tell you, by the 30th day, I was kissing everyone.
Is that
It was a mutual respect. It was a mutual respect. But interesting thing about wrestling coaches. in
man,
Iran?
Kissing is humbling, right?
The next time,
Imagine.
the next time I have
Middle
two
of the
guys
competition.
getting in shit with each other, I'm gonna tell them to kiss each other.
You know what? You just gave me something. Recently, we were saying we all got this problem. You guys go when the guy comes in, like the haymaker guys, and just trying to injure someone. You get in grappling.
It happens, man.
Yeah, the wrestlers just picking them, slamming them. We've got this rule now in my little hidden school. You know, what we got. We haven't advertised it. So, but anyway, anyone's going too high trying to injure you or something, we walk away from them. But I got this from a friend, but I think we might just give me another idea.
You make him kiss, man. Yeah.
I'm like, but if you watch the World Cup between Rahimi and what's his name from Iowa that they wrestled each other, Tony Ramos.
Okay.
End of the match, Rahimi goes to kiss him, and Tony Ramos pushes him.
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
That's not what we do here.
And then I had to explain to him, I'm like, dude, that's just a sign of like
Respect yeah.
afterwards. He goes, no, but I don't kiss, man. I'm from Iowa.
It was like, did you ever see Heath Herring fought a guy in Japan? And you know how sometimes they'll do the face off and they'll kiss him. You know? Have you seen that?
Okay.
He kissed him and he just hit him and just knocked him out.
I think I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah,
I've never seen it. No.
He knocked him clean out right before the beginning of the fight.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now going back to the coaches in Iran, right?
Yeah.
So before practice, this is what I liked about the coaches. The coaches gives a life lesson before practice starts. First, obviously, talks about God.
So this is the practice was for kids or
it's all ages. So pretty much you would have kids from like 10.
And they do train together. The adults and the kids would train
So what he
together?
does, the coach had him 2 groups.
Okay.
And then a lot of kids don't even get mat time. It's an honor. So they come every practice.
And they just
hoping
watch.
that the coach would pull them in.
They just watch other
Yeah,
ones.
they would watch.
Wow.
So you could go for like 2-3
Make him
weeks.
thirsty, right?
Huh?
Make him thirsty.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the coach sits everyone down, say a little prayer, then talks about social responsibility, respecting your parents. So that to me was very interesting. That every single one of these kids looks up to the coach.
I think
And that's
BJJ
why-
does that as well, right?
Depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends. I've seen some. So
I
that
feel like I'm too young to give life lessons to any of my students, to be honest with you.
How old are you?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Public.
A few more years, I'll be all right.
So yeah, I mean that aspect of it I really enjoyed, just the kids looking up to the coaches.
Yeah.
And then if you picture the kid that has no father figure, that coach now
It's a very important
has
role
a
in his life.
very important
Yeah.
role, especially in a third world country, war-torn country, that these kids could be, I mean, attracted to with the wrong crowd.
So easy for someone to. I think it's the same thing that happens in some of the poorer areas in any country, but even in London or in the UK, sport can give you this belonging, like you said. You know, like you said when you first went to America, and actually, like it was the wrestling room where you felt that you could actually fit in. But if someone doesn't have that, and like you said, if they don't have a father figure, that's when they start finding gangs. And you're like, in the Middle East, the equivalent of a gang
Belonging
is
is big.
joining ISIS or something like
Exactly.
that.
So that's a belonging is big.
But yeah,
I mean, Nelson Mandela, right? He dedicated his whole speech.
Yeah.
He said sports unites all. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a true believer in that. It's just like music, right?
yes,
You put people from around the world in one room and put on the music,
yeah.
they will all laugh, and they don't even. It doesn't matter what religion,
Sing along or dance,
race,
or, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Sports
I
is the
think
same way.
wrestling also got. I was talking about comparing different types of sport, what the end result is, what kind of message that might give if you start observing it a little bit deeper. Wrestling is predominantly control based. You know,
Yeah.
we got a freedom of movement. You get in underneath, you get in your body straight, try to do the takedown or whatever. When it's completed, we don't do submission, we don't
Yeah.
do choking. With boxing, the end result, you do try to knock the guy out.
Yeah.
In wrestling, we don't have that. We
It's just a
control
pin,
the guy.
right? You
It's
just
just
pin
a
the
pin,
guy.
and it's very based on controlling, right?
Exactly.
So he goes on a bridge on his back to get out of it. Then you start hip heisting, hip base, which is escapes BJJ would be the same, but control. I think it will. You get to say managing your emotions for the kid. You know, he doesn't feel good about himself. He also doesn't know how to express it.
Yeah.
So that's something sports can give you, can it? You know, because just before a match, it's difficult times, isn't it, for
Yeah.
all of us?
Yeah.
You just go and because the guy is coming to you, evolutionary from base you in a fight or flight mode anyway. So there's no point saying don't be nervous. Do you know what I mean? Can you manage that? You know, there's a lot of the things is missing with our even society in England now. You know, a lot of the gangs, of the kids on the streets, and it also gives them a purpose. There's a meaning to it.
It also builds a character, right? It's not a multiplayer sport like soccer, right? I got somebody coming at me, I'm going to pass the ball.
Yeah. You gotta deal with it
BJJ,
yourself,
wrestling.
yeah.
This is it. When you step on the mat, you know if you're prepared.
Yeah.
You know it.
I
Just
like
like
that.
the real world.
I like that because I see responsibility with the guys that work with me. If they go in, I say to them, nobody's coming. Meaning you are by yourself.
Yeah.
Once you go in, you are by yourself. And predominantly in life, you are by yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And there's been so many times I've stepped on a mat out there and I knew I was going to lose because I wasn't prepared. And you can't hide it. This is it. And that's what life will do to you. There's
And
no...
what is community? What is sense of belonging? It's overcoming aloneness, isn't it? That's what love is, right? Love orientation is overcoming aloneness. I don't like to be alone, but you get comfortable of being, I'm independent, I am myself. I mean, one of the seminars been slightly wrong with one of the professors. He didn't like my terminology, but when we spoke afterwards, he agreed with me. I'm saying not to kill the coach physically or the hierarchy wise of the system of what we're talking about. I'm saying psychological independency.
Yeah.
You know, I'm become comfortable. I killed the coach with my hands. Someone's taking steroids. Dan Gable said that. He said when the Russians, they said the Russian was training 4 years and he was on steroids to beat him. He said that's a weakness.
Yeah.
That's a
that
gap.
gave him an advantage.
That gave him an advantage.
Yeah.
What do you do? Because he said that's a mental crutch.
Yeah.
So when I'm going in, whether it's my father, whether it's my coach, whether it's my best friend, he's not there.
Yeah.
If he's not there, I'm going to perform. I'm not going to perform. Which one is it?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? I should be able to reach and cultivate myself through my sport or many other type of things. Just for example, what we do with sports, reach independency and say, I can do it. I'm feeling good enough. And that's where my work, I wanted to go for the kids to feeling good enough. I am enough. There's no predispositions. Not if I buy that Nike, I will perform well. When I got that car, that lady will like me. I am good enough. Sense of belonging, sense of love. I am lovable now.
Yeah.
I am me. So I think sports can give you further than that gold medal. You know, sense of belonging is just being, I am good enough. And that's when you feel good enough, you're going to make better decisions generally anyway.
Sure.
We know that.
Yeah. And, you know, going back to yourself, Mo, so to your career, your wrestling career, when did you finish wrestling competitively? Because you had a successful wrestling career?
Yeah, I wasn't Jordan Burroughs or anything like that. I never claimed to be the best wrestler out there. I was actually an average wrestler that won more matches than lost. Once again, that's because I partied too much.
Okay.
And I realized early
Sure.
that the Olympics is not a realistic dream for me, and I focused on school.
Yeah.
But I didn't give up. I wrestled all throughout college.
But Division 1, right?
Yeah, so I went to Hofstra University Division 1 in Long Island. I wrestled there under Tom Ryan, who's actually the coach at Ohio State, and he coaches Kyle Snyder. So he was my college coach. I got hurt. I blew my knee out at the NCAA qualifiers, and then I transferred that following year to a Division 3 school. So I wrestled at Division 3 in New York City at Hunter College. And then after I graduated, I coached there. I was the assistant coach for 2 years
Nice.
while I was working on Wall Street. So I love coaching. And then from there, I got involved with the New York Athletic Club, very famous, one of the oldest athletic clubs in the world. We actually have various sports. Judo is one that's very strong for us. Kayla Harrison, we sponsor her.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey was one of our
Wow.
people. Yeah, Bruce Baumgartner. A lot of legends go through our club
Bruce
there.
Baumgartner.
Yep. So I got involved with that. I competed on the veterans level, old man division. I won it twice in my weight class.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then from there, I went to the World Championships for veterans, masters level in 2012 in Budapest. And I lost to a Russian. And then after that, I decided that my hip is not handling it well. And then I still coach. I still get on the mat. You know, somebody challenges me on a Tuesday night when I'm at the wrestling club.
It's good to go.
And I get my butt kicked, but I still do it.
So, you know, for you, like, it's interesting because for so many people, it's either wrestling's everything or it's nothing, or like sport is everything or it's nothing. And in your case, you've been able to, it's not been everything, the competition side, but you've still had, you know, been a massive part of, wrestling's been a massive part of your life, you know, not your profession, but you've coached, but then you've also used wrestling as an avenue for all of the philanthropy that you do. So like when did that first start? When did you first
when you're missing that one thing in your life?
Yeah.
I couldn't achieve it in my competitive career. I always wanted to be an All-American, but I don't blame anyone but myself.
Sure.
I didn't give 120%. Now that I'm older, I realize it. I wanted it so bad, but I chose to party.
Sure.
So I stayed involved. I said the least I could do is just, I owe the sport for whatever I have. It's helped me advance my life, my career. So I decided to get on the other side. helping side and be involved. I didn't want to leave the sport. It's one of those, it's like being addicted to something. I just cannot let it go.
Yeah.
Like if I'm away from it for more than a month, I kind of have shakes. It's just weird, and I got to be involved. So I got involved with the New York Athletic Club. Then I got involved with an organization called Beat the Streets.
So tell me about that.
So Beat the Streets is a non-for-profit organization. It's a national organization now, but I'm involved on the New York side. So we are known for hosting that Times Square wrestling event.
I saw the video. It looks unbelievable.
Incredible, isn't
it? Insane. So I'm on the board. And what we do is pretty much we provide wrestling programs in schools in the New York City area.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Is it a social project?
It is a social project. We keep kids off the streets and in wrestling rooms. So we provide wrestling mats to middle schools, high schools.
Okay.
And a lot of those kids come from financial hardships, or single mom or single dad, that the mom's working 2 jobs. And a lot of times these kids would have no place to go after school.
Yeah.
And would find themselves in trouble. Same concept. So now they go into the wrestling room, wrestling mat. And the program has been so effective. A lot of those kids that would have never thought about going to college because their parents would never enforce that.
Have wanted to go to college because...
Now they're in college. We had a kid that went to Brown, MD, doctor. I mean, they're all channeling through the college.
Is that they got scholarships to go to college, or that they...
Some of them do, and some of them don't.
Some of them just like, I want to...
But it's just that, you know what you did? You just made them take a different
path.
Yeah. And that was the biggest thing. Slowly change the lane instead of going wandering aimlessly. So that organization I've been involved with for a while now, and it's great. I always see myself as one of those kids growing up in the suburbs, not in the inner city, but I personally also give a scholarship to one of these kids every year, about $2,500 for college.
Nice.
Helps them with the books and stuff. So the only catch is they got to come from financial hardship.
Sure.
And they're planning to go to college and hopefully wrestle.
Yeah.
So those are the
What
three
psychological hardship will fall into that?
Financial hardship.
Financial.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very special.
So, because myself, I kind of use the factors that affected me when I was growing up. My parents were poor.
You want to help you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I see myself in these kids, right? So I got free lunch when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so poor, the school offered us free lunch. So I look for those kids that are hungry and they're going to go and do something.
Yeah.
And then I narrow it down to about 3 candidates. I bring them into the New York Athletic Club for dinner. They all dress up. And I sit down. I put the application away. I'm like, you know what? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
And first thing I ask them is, one of the biggest questions I have is, what makes a great doctor? That's a question. Think about it. What's your answer?
Don't think, just feel.
I don't know, man. I tend to get too logical with those things. I guess a good doctor for me would be someone who knows what they're doing, and they have some form of empathy or compassion as well. You've got to have the combination of two.
So there's no
Can I
wrong.
say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go
I
on.
would say there would be a 2 type of doctor, you know?
Okay.
I'm not saying which one's good or bad. I'm not going to get political in this one. One would get money, then save your child. One will save your child, will get his money.
Sure.
There's 2 different orientations.
So there's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
But
it
gives
gives you an idea of how they
thinking.
Yeah.
So when I was getting my MBA, I remember I went to class one day and one of the teachers said, for extra credit, randomly, it was like one of these like marketing classes, finance marketing. He asked the classroom, write your answer down. What makes a great doctor?
Yeah. What did you write?
I wrote, the doctor that performs his duties for free at least once a month, 1 month out of the year.
Okay.
And I got the extra credit.
Yeah.
He goes, that's a compassionate doctor.
Yeah.
Is a great doctor.
Compassion.
Because he's not working for money. He's working to save lives. And to me, that made such an impact. I mean, I got an extra 10 points on my final, which was great.
Yeah.
But that was how I felt.
Love, isn't it?
Huh?
It's wrapped with love.
Yeah. So I just try to see how these kids think. And I ask them, how are you going to give back?
Because what you want actually is you don't just want to help a kid. Is you want to help a kid and then have him help someone.
It's like the
when
telephone
he gets
game,
older.
right?
It passes on.
I can't help everyone. Yeah. My job is to help you, and your job is to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell everyone. Every time I help somebody out, they're like, what can I do to repay you? I say, pay forward. I don't need anything back. I've been blessed. I mean, I'm healthy somewhat. I have a family. Just pay forward.
You practice gratitude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, pay forward.
Yeah.
But that ritual exists with the Pahlavi wrestling of Iran.
What's
so
that?
Pahlavi wrestling of Iran, the
passing it
rituals.
forward?
Well, it's saying about, the help side, about giving.
Society, helping society. I mean, there's a iconic figure, Takhti. I mean, they worship him in Iran because he was an Olympic medalist, gold medalist, world medalist, but he's so well known for helping society out. At one time, he was wrestling one of his opponents, and the opponent's arm was messed up, or his leg was messed up, and he wouldn't attack that leg.
Yeah,
he wouldn't attack it because he said, "What kind of honor is there if I could beat this guy?"
Alexander Medvedev, before Sateev, he had the most medals in the world. But it was interesting because Takhti had the same, when they used to wrestle against each other, the rules were then, if you were lighter, the gold medal will go to the lighter guy. And Medvedev was lighter. So they would have had the same medal. So arguably, Takhti was just as many medals as he did.
Yeah.
But imagine the rivalry they had to be the two best in the world. When he got to the final, what Mo was saying, is two occasions. One was his knee.
Yeah.
One was his hand when inside a taxi. And he managed to beat everyone to the final. With one hand. Can you imagine what type of wrestler he was?
Wow.
Then Takhti during the match didn't touch that hand at all, and the other time didn't attack that leg. It's still today he visits Iran annually on his anniversary.
Wow.
Medvedev does. But that's a big message, right?
That's an extra law for an athlete, right? Imagine your opponent has his hurt knee and he has a knee brace. Naturally, I want to attack that knee.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for you to say, you know what, I'm going to make this fair.
Winning is great. It makes you feel wonderful, but he's saying
you had to ask yourself, would he have done the same as well?
Huh?
You would ask yourself, you're going, I'm not going to attack that knee because I want it to be fair, but I wonder if he would have attacked my knee if it was in a brace.
But then again, after 52 years, people still celebrate him.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
like, what's more, what's the biggest legacy? Is it a gold medal, or is it to be known by everyone as being a compassionate
depends
person?
who you ask.
Well, I don't think Takhti was based on that, because that still will fall into the game of growth. Will I be remembered?
Well, it sounds like he just did it because he thought that was the right thing to do.
But it was rituals about virtue, about humanitarian values. He would see humanitarian values above a gold medal. One of the quotes he says, when I stood up on a podium to receive my first gold medal, I realized I still had to bow down to the crowd to receive that gold medal. So that was his thing. People. But Mo stated earlier about Iranians are saying first God, then people
then
of
country,
Iran, their family.
Yeah.
So that's their drive, what they're wrestling for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In a say more as a growth society, goal orientation, say would be more capitalistic. Say for USA, they would be about winning only.
Yeah.
So that's definitely my argument
fame,
in terms of my wrestling with, say, a wrestle for humanity. I'm saying wrestling for gold medals, fine, but I'm saying there is also wrestling for humanity also. Wrestle for humanity.
Talk and continue about the charity that you have the scholarship programs and the Beat the Street stuff. So we spoke into it last time, but for those who haven't listened, tell us a little bit about your Wrestle for Humanity stuff.
I think since last we spoke, so it's the idea, isn't it? Try to structure that, how we're going to go on about it. That would have been the difficult part of it. So we want to hold, based on the footstep of what that done for the kids and stuff within Bristol region. So we want to hold the annual sort of event based on very much what Beat the Street is about. So we're going to attach it to, we decided recently for mental health, because my direction, my work is going towards that way, and therapy. So we want... the profit's going to go towards that. So that's going to be a charity event once a year, including attached to our wrestling we're going to be having in the evenings or whatever for our classes. We're going to also offer bringing them in and look at their psychological states also. So that's why I asked Mo, I said, would you fall, is just financial hardship? So mine, I guess it would be sort of psychological state they are. Are they feeling good about themselves? So we will look at that. We'll teach them through the classes also through that. So that's Wrestle for Humanity generally. I'm going to be attached with a lot of people, including yourself. Get a little seminar, join seminars to send a little message out, because I'm not going to change the world. I understand that, but I'm going to scream. I'm saying my scream might be stronger than your thesis.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we come with all these different ideas, but it doesn't get applied. What I like about Mo's work is applied. So it's not a passive orientation with his work. I want mine to be active. I want the guys that come into my school be activated, because I think there's a lot of conscious and unconscious. Consciously, we're very hopeful about life. Yeah. Unconsciously, with some of us are very hopeless, including myself. for past. We say a lot of the dark drive is for Mo is coming now. He sees that child. He sees himself. He decided that child's not going to go through what I went through. Do you see what I mean? Where he could have been a different lane. He's changing lane there, isn't he, with these kids? So Wrestle for Humanity is going to be based on more than just the annually we give this directly, I give the money and go. We want it to be cultivating things, such as, say, at the moment, we concentrate on psychological systems, say. But I have got neuroscientists on board, lots of different types of film, looking at the human behavior from different perspectives, so that I don't come with the idea of Saeed. I just want to go there. I don't know. I want to discover. Do you see what I mean? So, so based on that, I want attachment with Mo, because first of all, one of the things he can teach me, he's already been there through that system. He knows beat the street. So I think this is what's going to happen, right? If I like Hooman likes me, we got a sort of a virtue relationship. Within that, there's utility and pleasure is going to be there. But our utility and pleasure is going to be based on we're giving it back to society there. Yeah. So what I'm using, that's a wrong word, utility, whatever you want to call it, I'm just coming out wrong. Hooman can teach me. It's a side. There's do's and don'ts there if you go into the avenue, because it need to be financially sustainable for me to be able to do it. So that's the biggest problem I've got. First of all, it starts with what? Wrestling mat. It's going to be 10K. 10K, we can get a little bit cheap. I want top-notch mat because I want it to be international tournament, invitation. So I'll be putting, Daniel, are you free to come and do a wrestling match? Take that only. Or say no, but then I'll be begging you. I'll turn on your But again, there's a little bit of utility going on there, right? But based on diverting that utility, passing it back a little bit to the rest of society based on what I've learned from my dad. Yeah. My dad was a student of Tahti, lost a story there, 2 matches against him. And one of the things that's happened with Tahti and, dad, for example, learning from him. They wouldn't let dad on a mat. He was so popular. Apparently, King's brother walks in, everyone just claps. He had a rival with Tahti.
Yeah.
So Tahti walks in, everyone stands up and goes silence for Tahti. They won't let that in. And they were shouting from one side. Esmaeli said to me, what did he say to you? The other side replying. He said to me in the changing room, what did he say to you? And he kept going on, passing the call and response there. I am so scared of Tahti. The stadium's going mad. Yeah. This is how Iranian wrestling is so big over there. So he goes in the change room, grabs his hand, and walks on the mat with him, just to bring him in there. And when you see that is shaking hands with him in Iran, you don't look at the coaches in the eye. And he's got his hand down.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Respect, which is interesting because in the West, you look in someone's eye.
It's disrespectful not to.
Exactly. Wow. So as if someone's older, you don't look in their eyes.
Really?
Yeah. Like even my dad, I always looked at.
I'll show you a little picture. Maybe you can put stuff.
That's crazy.
Whatever with this.
Yeah.
That's look because they check their nails in wrestling. Make sure it's short.
Yeah, of course.
Right. You do that in BJJ?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, he's looking down. He's not looking at his coach. And when he's sitting down on part A, he's smiling because people are booing him. But you don't wrestle your coach. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be one of the hardest things you're ever going to have. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I've had that with Jan Saeed. I was like,
you had the wrestle your coach?
Yeah, I was like, what we're going to do? And he's taught me so much. He was a senior to me. Do you see what I mean? It just doesn't happen in wrestling, especially in Iran. You have to lose. You go with it. You just take the loss. Whatever, even if you can take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would take the loss.
Yeah.
I would, just out of respect.
I think most Iranian wrestlers...
recently in this tournament, in the Urigan tournament in Russia, the 2 brothers at 97 kilos, older brother and younger brother, and the younger brother, when they went out there...
From which team?
Russia. In the Urigan last week. The younger brother went out there to the older one, and I guess they talked to each other, and then he let the older one pin him in like 10 seconds, and then they hugged each other, kissed each other, and walked off.
But imagine you got rituals of a brother you love to that extent of another human being. You know? And that's what Tahti showed. Yeah. He said, you know what? It's a gold medal and stuff, but I'm not going to touch that leg. Yeah. Because you're more important. He just showed him. And he's got a friend for life that he's still visiting his, tomb once a year. He's great.
That's crazy. So you're kind of looking to do the same thing that's going on with Beat the Streets, which is have like a
similar,
like a tour, like a it's like a show.
Well,
or is it a tournament?
With the Beat the Streets, what we do is it's a fundraiser. Yeah. So we have that once a year fundraiser, and the money money goes towards our annual budget for these schools and the students and the camps. So that one event helps us drastically
Well, I guess that's the answer then. It's very much the same.
It's similar, very similar.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're looking at. We're trying to figure out the structure, how we're going to do this on the financial side of it. That's the stage we're in. We just registered it, Wrestle for Humanity. But it started after Dad died. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. More than likely, that's what I'm doing as well. Continue with Dad's work because when Dad died, the gym was going to get... gym got closed down.
Yeah.
And we had one of the dominant teams in Britain. So when Dad was getting buried in a graveyard, in a cemetery, and I looked around and I saw about 12, 13 kids, all his students, junior team, and they were all crying. They were so sad. I'm just looking at them directly, and I knew they were wrestling to make the Olympic team, which one of them was Leon Rattigan, which he made the team, and for 2012, so he was wrestling for. So I know 2012 was coming out, and that was 2005. So I went a little bit deep thoughts to myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to make a promise to myself. It's not about him. I'm going to make a promise to myself. So I put the kids to the side. I said, guys, gym's going to get closed down, but I'm going to open up a gym for you guys to carry on wrestling. So we managed to... Our family's quite known in Bristol. We managed to raise £12,000.
Wow.
I have to check the dates. That died in June, but I don't know. I'll have to look because it was on the paper. We opened up the gym by November, I think. But then I started grieving myself. Gym went on. Leon got picked. Iman got picked. They went to the British team and they started training. And, they went to Commonwealth Games, brought medals back. He got the best wrestler of the year. He actually beat the guy, junior world champion in France, ironically. And this is one of the arguments I will have with the Olympic Committee with England. Leon wrestled this guy again, but he lost against him. You can have a bad day, right? You can have temperature. You can many times the variables can come in, but they could have sent him to the Olympics. They didn't. But that would have been a message of hope because Leon came from absolute poverty. That funded him. He became his dad. He never had a dad. And you can hear his mother's words about this type of things. He put him back in there, changed in his lane. He made it. So predominantly that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Following that footstep, giving it back to society. Because myself, when I came in, I was totally fine. I mean, I experienced the revolution stuff. I opened up a window of my house and to look down, see if my driver's there to take him to school. Next minute, someone gets shot in the head. People running around. What's going on in that age? 6.5 years old. I don't know what's going on. It's revolution. Then war. What was my experience? Same thing. I was coming down. I saw a plane coming towards the house and he just shoot up. What was it? Iraq attacked us.
Wow.
Does that make sense? So all of a sudden, then when I was in England and stuff, I was Billy No Mates. My talk with the police is called Ugly Duckling. It's the sense of belonging. So perhaps, to overcoming my own aloneness, I've been digging in deeper and deeper. Then I looked at it, so many times in wrestling. When you go into different areas, the self-esteem was low. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have a training partner, so that's a lot of times and stuff, but I wouldn't be the same guy I was in gym when I was over there, purely because I didn't feel good enough about myself. But I've overcome that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So once I've sat in my own darkness long enough to be able to sit in the dark with you.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do with my sort of a help. It's very much similar sort of a story, I guess, going on there. And just to say I'm a human. Is expression. What is wrestling? It's a body experience of two people playing. You see with the animals, don't you? They wrestle, they play. So one of the things I want to do with the school, when we're practicing, I'm embracing playing a lot. For playing, because you discover. So it's contest based, not competition. I'm not here just to win. I'm here to learn. I'm discovery of this position. Let's play around with this. So through that, bringing up. So that's going to be the school, the competition. I'm looking at the money. I think money side of it is going to be most important. What happens with us, with a lot of us, with coming from a hardship and stuff, we become anti-money.
Yeah.
We don't realize that's just a tool.
Yeah.
So that's just like, the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, I'm not a fan of this guy in terms of, but his argument is valid. His argument is profound. So, literacy of the same money. Some of these kids that come in with their school, it would be more based on what the Greeks had. Gymnasium wasn't just the place to get your muscles and, to feeling, this sort of a beast guy, but it was also a place to sit down and talk. And that's why you just indicated it is saying, just to talk to the guy.
Yeah.
I'm here with you. That touch means so much, I think. And that's what's happened to me. Some guy, first time I went to see the guy I'm working with now for my research, Dr. John Eaton. Friend of mine, do you remember Trojan Free Fighters?
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie Joseph.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember him. So he said to me one day, we were on a site. We had a security firm at the time, and he goes, Saeed, you go through changes in your life. You're trying to change, but I don't think you know what the problem is exactly. You're offering so much, but at times, you got a little bad temper because I became anti-bully. My fighting sort of side, I wasn't a tough guy. I was surviving in school, but that became a condition. That also gave me a sense of identity. Then I could smell bullies are coming in, and I will pick on you. I will find a way you do something. I'll pick on you because I knew you were a bully. Then it became you acting as God, trying to save the world in that sense.
Yeah.
And I could fight, but for what way? You get into trouble and you get in this terrible status. But what I was an empty balloon there. Do you understand? I was puffing myself, or I was shrinking at times. I wasn't grounded, and that's when you're vulnerable. That's where last time we talked about the characteristic of a sadist and masochist. They can't survive without each other. Which I still, when I think about English, and during that podcast, I got it wrong. If you know what's he talking about, but that's what I mean. But that's what I was.
Yeah.
I was shrinking. Or a puffing, but I wasn't grounded guy. Self-love is there. I'm good enough. I'm okay. Even when I lose, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's many profound lessons comes from losing, that you cannot possibly, get anywhere. And it's a stepping stone, isn't it? You know what I mean? And I think being poor it teaches you, because what it would do, it would introduce the world to you. When you got money, it introduces you to the world. Money does. Yeah. And when you haven't got it introduces the world to you. And that's not my word. That's Sophia Loren's word. Do you understand? Yeah. But she provoked a lot of thoughts in my head. Said, I've been there. I've experienced both sides. Community-based. Yeah. We see more depression and more traumatized. These guys, rise of the, anxiety and depression, all these things we see. And within affluent, there's so much more. Yes. Detachments.
It's detachment from other humans, yeah. Yeah. That's what they say is like when you get rich, you build a house with walls on either side and a gate at the front and nobody can come in. Yeah. You think that you're safe, but actually you're detaching yourself.
You're getting a VIP. One thing I don't like VIPs. So what's VIP? I'm a sociable guy. Yeah. I was like, get me on the other side. I want to talk to the guy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He's got something to say. I want to talk to him. Why do I want to be alone? Yeah. We know the baby is not hugged. He dies. Ironically, we work. We post ourselves. We become commodity to a level. We post those things. As soon as I become rich, I put my glasses on. I tint my windows. I detach myself there. Yeah. That's just absurd, Yeah. So we said about the conscious hope and unconscious hope. A lot of us, inside of us, we're not very hopeful. We've broken down. So what we would do for in terms of a business, I'm going to have to suppress my, anxiety, all these different types of emotions going on inside it just to get the money. Do you know what I mean? But how much money is enough? That's also the boundaries of being enough. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And so I'm this wonderful guy, he's full of confidence, but he's actually suppressed so many stuff within himself. Next me know when he got the money, he had money. Why did he kill himself? Yeah. If you really dig in deep there, that's a little bit of I don't want to say a stupid question, but it's a very shallow way of looking at someone's being depressed. Yeah. So Wrestle for Humanity is going to be psychological, contribution given back within the intellectuals I've gathered, bring them together, to all my students, different fields. They're practicing wrestling, but they're wrestling just not for Olympic wrestling within situations like other sports, which we call the infused, because it's a fusion of different fluid based, so everybody can do it. None just go and break each other's neck just to let you know how wonderful I am with my toughness, but also know I'm so strong I can play around with you. Do you see I wrestle with I've seen your videos with your children.
Yeah.
Do he wrestles with them, so that tough wrestler, he can wrestle. Yeah. So we can apply that when we go to the BJJ room. New guy comes in, he's an office guy, he just wants to move. movement, right? Body needs to move, right? So we see these movement societies are just growing. So wrestling can, contribute the same thing. Just being based on movement is a body experience in a society.
Yeah.
Resilience. So it's going to be more resilience, which finally I protected it. So if a book comes out, my research is finished. I can share this with you guys now. It's called Resilience.
Yes.
Wrestling
you said
resilience.
last time.
We did say
Yeah,
that?
yeah, you said
okay,
that.
So trademarks come out. So no one it happens to me a lot, you know what I mean? I like talking and just sharing. The next thing you know, it's put online. It's like, well, that site's got no money.
But, you were saying that you were mentioning the Olympics. And I know, there's been a few things, obviously, with wrestling in the Olympics, which is because you're part of the United States Federation, Wrestling Federation?
I'm the liaison, yeah. So
Yeah.
I do the
So,
international.
I don't know how much it affected, but both of you, but they were going to get rid of wrestling. And
2013, was it?
yeah, I think it was it was after 2012.
Right when that happened, there was a number of people that came together to save it.
Because that was kind of crazy because
We held that tri-meet in Grand Central train station in New York City. Iran, Russia, and the U.S.
No way.
So, I was actually the point of contact for Iran, and we were able to bring the three teams together, united.
Wow.
The three powerhouses.
Yep.
Those are the three main countries.
In Grand Central, which is a historic train station in New York City. And we had a wrestling match there. It was NBC Sports that were all there covering it.
That was with the goal of saving
Yes.
Olympic wrestling.
And then behind the scenes, there were a number of affluent businessmen that were also helping raise awareness and the funding, and they were able to make some changes.
Why? What was the reason that
I
they were
personally believe it because there was a lot of corruption going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of corruption, like you said, mob-based, mafia-based, crime-based. So they just wanted to shake the sport up a little bit.
Really?
That's my personal opinion, and then that's what
The
they brought
IOC
in.
did.
Yep.
So they
brought
won.
in-
It was a bluff.
No, I think they were going to if we didn't change our
Okay.
ways, and we were able to change it. I mean,
were to take
they rebranded the whole thing. It's called United World Wrestling now. It's no longer FILA. So they kind of give it a new face. They have a new president, Mr. Lalovich, who's changing the sport. So they pretty much cleaned house and brought it all new blood. Now they're making improvements.
Because I never understood.
It's the oldest sport, and they were going to drop it, which was
It was the oldest sport, but it was one of the only sports that was part of the original
exactly
ancient.
Well, you
It's
see
like
so
marathon
much
was
that,
one.
like
wrestling,
the sprints,
yeah.
throwing things,
Throwing, yep.
wrestling, boxing.
But I think it's because it was getting so bad. I mean, once again, that's just my personal opinion. They had to bring it in. They threatened to drop it,
Wow.
and then this kind of helped shake everything up.
I had no idea that you guys put on an event like
It was unbelievable. You should see it on YouTube.
I would definitely check it out. 100%.
It was U.S., Russia, and Iran.
I think that was the first time I saw Kyle Dake.
Kyle Dake wrestled. Yeah, that was his first match.
I had a bet then. I said this kid's gonna win win the world.
It was great. I mean, we kind of wanted to show the world and the IOC that we are united.
So you put
Yes.
mats down in Grand Central.
One mat down on a
Wow,
platform.
wow.
It was insane. I mean, security was so tight.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I
and
think
it
we
was
could
very
do that in Paddington.
We'll find out.
cool. You just need some
King's Cross.
get some good sponsors, and I think anything's possible. Like sports, look what just happened in North Korea and South Korea
Yeah.
during the Olympics.
Yeah.
Unified team all
Wow.
through sports.
I think that brought us together a lot more, though. Don't you think? It brought a lot of love in BJJ world massively. I think they contributed.
What's
You know,
that for the wrestling?
Yeah, they were supporting it. You know,
The
They came
BJJ
forward.
were very supportive of the petition and stuff. We signed the petition.
Yeah.
I know. I heard of it through the channel.
MMA guys.
Yeah, I think
I just
everyone.
feel like there
kinda
should
saw
be.
that.
I think there should be even more collaboration between UFC, MMA, BJJ. I mean, to me, they're all brothers, and they all could kind of learn from each other.
I think the problem that you have is with anything, which is when things are very similar, a lot of people become threatened.
competition.
Yeah, they become threatened. You know.
But I
But
think
I
they
think-
complement though.
I think if
Oh,
they-
I absolutely.
I agree. Like
I
the
100%
UFC right
agree.
now has one of the most powerful marketing tools.
Yeah,
They should be able to help the other
yeah,
sports, like
Yeah.
wrestling. All of their champs are wrestlers.
Wrestlers, yeah.
Why not lend a hand? Like at a minimum, advertise
yeah,
For sure, they're interested.
sporting events.
yeah.
Just talk about it.
That's the problem. You know that the problem with the UFC, and definitely now more than ever, is that it has been bought by a pure entertainment company.
Well, that's what it is, right? I mean, the reason our sports are getting not as much hype is because of marketing and advertisement.
It's the bottom line.
Advertisements. Exactly.
It's the bottom
so
line.
if you could, I think if our sports could hire an awesome PR firm,
Yeah.
it would make such a difference. Like I was telling Saeed, I'm like, how come like Jordan Burroughs is not on every national TV commercial?
Yeah.
Kyle Snyder, all these known names. It's because of, I guess, airtime and just advertisements. Why aren't they doing a Gatorade commercial?
Yeah.
I guess to us, Carl Steiner is such a well-known figure, but in terms of a world sport, when you mention him, there's
it's
like,
weird like that, isn't it? Like,
It is, isn't it?
It's the same with jiu-jitsu, you know. You say like a Roger Gracie is the most.
Yes.
It's like Roger Gracie's like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
But actually, if you walk down the street, nobody would recognize him. It's
Exactly.
like that weird. We're in like a micro.
It's like a niche sport.
exactly,
Whereas like
yeah.
football or
If David
baseball,
Beckham walked down the
Exactly.
street, it would be a very different story.
But you know, when you go to Iran in terms of sport with the news,
yeah.
you get news from all the sports. It's not just the predominantly just
So like
construct,
the famous wrestlers in Iran, are they actual celebrities? Is it a different?
They are.
That's
They
very
are. So,
different. Yeah.
when I go there, it's unbelievable. I have cauliflower. And
Yeah.
It's just
Really?
it's such a badge of honor.
Wow.
Walking around Iran. And it's also one of my good friends
they're
is an
very
Olympic
welcoming
champ.
as well, and they for different countries even coming in for sports people.
Exactly.
They've got a lot of respect. If you go there now, there's a
I
BGG
get,
champion.
once in a while when I'm in the subway in New York City, there's always
Someone will see your ear.
someone
Yeah.
on the subway will be like, it's funny because a couple of years ago I had a guy, he was German or something,
Yeah.
a BJJ guy.
Yeah.
And he was like looking at me going like this, and I kind of waved at him. I was like, "What's up?" And then he started talking. He was like, "BJJ." I said, "Wrestling." I said, "Oh."
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It's like a little badge of honor or brotherhood.
It's like a secret little.
Exactly.
Like a secret tattoo.
You know, like motorcyclists. You
Yeah.
know, when I used to have a motorcycle, every time
Yeah.
another one walked by, they
You
kind of
give 'em a nod?
a nod, or
Yeah.
like a flashing your light. It's the same thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But in Iran, like a lot of them are idolized. A lot of their Olympic champs, especially the
very cool,
heavyweight
yeah.
ones. The heavy ones.
They
There's
start calling him Palavan as well.
yeah, a good friend of mine. His name is Ali Reza Rezai. He's a silver medalist from Athens. He's a big boy. Every time I go out with him to dinner, the whole restaurant's standing ovation.
Really?
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And at first I thought it was for me, so I get up and I'm like,
And then telling you to move out of the way, they want to see him.
But it's
Jordan Burroughs
amazing.
gets a lot of welcome
in Iran,
right?
yeah. So Jordan
Really?
Burroughs, I think,
More famous in Iran
more
than he is
famous
in the
in
States.
Iran than in the States.
Wow.
And he knows it too every time I tell him. They've invited him openly to visit the country.
Wow.
All expenses paid for. I mean, this was 2 years ago that,
Incredible.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they do idolize. I mean, they
You know,
respect athletes a lot.
Speaking about Iran, so you had a big hand in doing something back in 2017, I think it was.
So in 2017, the World Cup, Iran was the host. And right about a couple of weeks before we left, Trump came out with the Trump ban.
Yeah, the travel ban.
The travel ban, yeah. So pretty much
And Iran was
banned
one of the countries.
one of the original countries. And then Iran retaliated and said, you know what? No Americans allowed.
Yeah.
So now we're like,
you ban
oh,
us, we'll ban you.
shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember the Iran Wrestling Federation called me and told me, don't panic. Let's work this out together. So the two
So
federations.
they reached out to you straight away.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
was
Yeah,
the middle person. So the two federations came together, and the U.S. Federation said, "We'll stay as long as you guys could provide us security.
Yeah.
We're still committed to coming." And then the Iranian Wrestling Federation went all the way to the top and got a waiver.
Wow.
And let me tell you, they put on a show for us just to prove to the world that they're
Wow.
not bad people. It was in the city of Kermanshah, which is 160 miles, I want to say, east of Baghdad. So we were close to the border.
Very close, yeah.
And the Iranian government was very worried about ISIS infiltration
Yeah.
because they were hiding in the mountains. So they had the whole military. They told me the 50-mile radius was
No
protected.
way.
And then our hotel, there was about 60, 70 security forces in there. And the stadium was chanting USA.
Wow.
It was I'm telling you, it's one of those moments that I take to my grave.
Yeah, you
as
remember
one
it
of
for the rest of your
best
life.
moments of my life.
That's incredible.
When we walked out into the stadium, I think, seated about 35 seats. There was 5,000, 6,000 people in there.
Wow.
The walls were kind of like moving back and forth. And these guys were just chanting USA, holding signs, "We're not terrorists."
Wow.
I'm telling you, it was one of those
Really?
emotional
beautiful,
sporting
yeah.
events. You know, it's like watching Rocky.
Yeah.
And then when Jordan Burroughs came out, everyone's chanting, "Jordan,
Yeah.
Jordan." It was amazing, amazing. And then the Americans, I mean, at first they were hesitant. A couple of the athletes were kind of worried about coming there, security. And then when they left, they're like, you know what? They're not that bad. These
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
are good
yeah.
people.
I think Zeke Jones made a speech about it as well. I saw a little.
It was
clip on it.
it wasn't Zeke Jones. It was Bill Zadek. Everyone they had a charter plane for us from Tehran to the city.
Wow.
They made sure we were safe and sound. Every day they changed the route to the way to the stadium just in case.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I remember we were in a bus and these locals in a car in front of us, came in front of us, these young kids, waving at us, and security guards just kind of bumped them off the road.
That's how that's one of the tactics is.
They bumped them right off the road. Boom. I'm like, oh, shoot. And then Jordan, everybody wanted Jordan. So we had to create one of these like the tunnels with guys and have Jordan walk through it. So the people wouldn't they just wanted to touch him.
Wow.
Just wanted the picture with him.
He's a superstar in that sense, isn't
he? And also the thing that makes him special is he responds to them well.
Yeah.
Like when he came out, he kind of waved to the crowd and like sent them a kiss. And the place went insane. I have videos of it. It's unbelievable.
That sounds so cool.
Just the first walking out, it's
Jordan's real deal?
Yeah.
Real deal, real champion.
I think he's a champion of people. I mean, the whole U.S. team, all of them are great. I mean, there's not one bad person on that team. Everyone's humble. Kyle Snyder, what a great human being. David Taylor, another incredible human. Everyone's so nice. I mean, they're supreme athletes. I mean, they're awesome athletes. And as a human being, they're even better, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's always what you want, right? Like you said, it's not just about...
I think that's what this discussion is about. Right?
Exactly, being more than just
And also they've been supportive. Like, for example, a lot of the U.S. athletes, when I was fixing the gym in Kabul, Afghanistan...
Donated?
I didn't even ask for donations. I said, what's more valuable is if you guys
exposure,
put a video supporting it. Jordan Burroughs made a personal video. Nick Wazowski, Gwiz, the heavyweight, made a video. Kyle Snyder made a video. And that just makes an impact to these kids. That these athletes, these like elite athletes are just thinking about you.
Yeah. And
that helped a lot with my charity too. I mean, he's got his charity. I have my own personal one, Humanities.
Okay.
Kind of, it's my name, Hooman, and with Humanities.
That's pretty cool.
It's really clever.
So what do you do with that?
With that, so I figured I was doing all these years, and why not just streamline it and come up with a non-for-profit? And that's what we did. We set up a non-for-profit, and
stay where you are.
So we did this non-for-profit now. I was able to raise money for Kabul, Afghanistan.
That's how it started.
Pretty much, I was doing it, but then I had my Instagram page. It's Humanities as well, and I had repaired 10 gyms in Iran so far.
Wow,
these remote areas. People send me pictures, just like ripped up mats and kids getting skin disease and all that stuff. And I have my cousin there that goes around and buys the mats, does a site visit, and then we buy the mat, and it's a lot cheaper than buying a mat from the West.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
and that also helps the local workers there. Yeah, right. So we did that, and then I provided shoes, and then Kabul happened, and now I had some extra money left, so I'm fixing a second gym in Kabul now. And that, to me, the way I see it is, I'm investing into 100 kids that are not going to get into trouble in Kabul, and also it keeps our soldiers safe too, if you think about it from another point of view. Yeah, these kids are not going to go carry a vest or a bag to a U.S. military or English military man.
That's very, very, very cool.
Can I say something on based on that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Since this is becoming more serious, and I thought to do with the Smile Wrestling, my direction is going that way. Some work has been coming in for seminars, coaching work and stuff. Two of them particularly stuck in my mind. Because what happened, I always remember, Ron Williams, when he used to get invited to do a speech. Do you see what I mean? But you used to ask him to do a donation first. Yeah. So a little bit based on that kind of metaphor and stuff, they asked me to do a little work with Senegali wrestling. Okay. The tradition. Do you know about them?
Yeah. Well, I know of it, but I don't really
look
know.
At it. I mean, Mo will tell you. Yeah. This is. I got to be honest. I am going for one reason. Not one of the reasons is the experience side of it. Yeah. These guys are reaching
You're going over there?
Yeah, with one of the superstars. Now that's a privilege, not because us what he's coming forward to do for us. Yeah, these are the guys. When you look at the footage on some of the documentaries, he's getting a lot of exposure now at the moment. You go on YouTube and stuff. There's almost thousands of kids are wrestling on a beach. Yeah, it's a way out of poverty.
That's what it is. It's always on the sand, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And these guys, man, some of these guys are big.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
130 kilos up.
Yeah.
The superstars. And they've made a little worse, and they're allowed to hit, which is similar to traditional wrestling of Iran. The open hand.
It's like slap.
It's like a slap.
Yeah. Body.
Gilani wrestling.
Gilani wrestling.
Yeah, we got
that's Iranian
as well. Yeah, we got a lot of traditional wrestling. Yeah, and if you go back, you see this type of wrestling existed through so many cultures.
I think India has it. Nigeria has it. I think every major culture has some sort of wrestling.
Traditional wrestling, yeah.
Traditional
There's
wrestling.
one with
The
Danny
Turkish
Cormier,
with the
isn't it?
oil wrestling.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, one of these guys, one of the top 7 champions over there, and these guys now out of poverty, they get in 150K a week
Wow.
per match. Big money,
No.
huge money, 100,000 people watching.
It's that big out there.
It's that big.
Wow.
But this guy's come forward. He started WhatsApping. But I think he wasn't just interested to get I'm going there, do a little bit of coaching. I asked for a seminar, which initially started, I sent a message to Roger. Because Roger Gracie was one of the first guys to hire me to do wrestling. So I said, would Roger be interested to do a seminar together? To make it like a shout for this, I did the same thing over there, do a seminar together, but open up a gym or whatever with wrestling. I asked if it was possible for more like with the mat and stuff. We just trying to look at the possibilities and stuff. But he become one of the ambassadors. But he wants a long-term work now.
Roger did?
No, not Roger. The champion in Senegal wrestling.
Okay.
But no, I've wrote to him. Roger said, "I'll tell Saeed, for Fabrizio." He said, "Send me an email."
Yeah,
Obviously, he's so busy now.
Yeah.
He said, "We'll make it happen" or something. He was interested. He was open to it. But I think the openness where all these champions are coming from, when humanity's coming in, the help is coming in.
Yeah.
I have had one knockback, Daniel. Well, I don't think it's to do with me. I don't think because I've worked with these guys before or I coached some of these guys,
Because it's got a purpose.
It's got a purpose.
It's got a purpose.
Do you know? It's nothing.
You can't say no
I don't
to
think
it,
it's
can you?
anything to do
No,
with
you're
me, in
investing
fact.
in the future, your kids.
Yeah.
There's as long once
Yeah.
somebody puts their self-interest or some profits aside,
Yeah.
you see the big picture. Like,
Yeah.
wow, this is great.
I mean, for Roger, he's reached a certain stage now. It's like, he's got his medals now. Then I imagine financially, it's kind of secure and stuff.
Yeah.
He's got so much publicity. Now, he's going one step further now to say something help.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't got anything to do with Roger at the moment, you know what I mean? Because I didn't send him an email after that. I was so busy. But say with this Senegalese superstar, and he's a superstar, this guy in his country, and he's coming on board to be able to do this. Same thing happened. One of the guys in Brazil, judo player, switched over to wrestling a few years back. One of his guys, BJJ player, he wanted me to train him for some wrestling for World Championship. So we did a little work. He put me in touch with this guy. His name is Marcus. And Marcus, he said he wants to come and train with me. What is the problem always? Is the money, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was trying to put him together because I still got connection with the German wrestling. German Bundesliga, at one point, it was the biggest league in the world, toughest league. And I was teaching there, But anyway, I was trying to send Marcus over there to go and do some training because there's another guy, 13 times national champion of Germany. I'm trying to put a link to get these guys coming forward. His name is Emmanuel. He wants to work with me, see my stuff online. So Saeed, because he was in one of the camps, I was coaching there for Division 1, and I love this wrestling. I said, man, this guy could be world champion, 13 times champion. It's not easy,
Yeah.
But anyway, so as we're working, trying to put them together, progressively we come to this Wrestle for Humanity. So I said to Marcus is training under a guy called Flavio, most important wrestling coach in Brazil. I had connections with Cesar Costa. I just love this guy. He's just the coolest dude I've ever met in BJJ, one of them, Then he does social project. I want to go and visit there. So I said, I'll come over. Now he wants to qualify for Pan Am Games. So he's got to place top 2 for Pan Am Championships to be able to go. So I said, well, I'm looking at the moment from this is they send me videos. I'm doing analyzing his wrestling, giving a report back. When we took some sports psychology performance and stuff. That's what we're doing. Talk to his coach. Now their coach and one of the lucks we got as well, the first girl brought a medal back for Brazil in a world championship. She went to the Rio Olympics as well. Alenia, she's also interested. Everything was fine. Me training Marcus, trying to go for the games, and he's trying to go for the Olympics. Everything fine, but it became It became powerful as soon as we said we're doing Wrestle for Humanity. And I was like, Saeed, we're interested. It's giving also hope to the wrestlers because as the coaches would go in there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we're doing something more profound.
Yeah.
It's promising.
No, it's very, very cool, and it's cool to see people using that sport as just a small part of what they're doing and kind of doing something which is a lot bigger than that and it's going to affect a lot of people in a profound way. Very, very cool. But, like we're talking earlier about, you're talking about the train with Roger and stuff like that and kind of getting involved. But, I wanted to quickly chat about your experience in jiu-jitsu, Mo. Like, when did you first get exposed to grappling?
So I was done with wrestling for a while, and I was just studying, trying to get my master's, and I found a place, I think it was called the Fight House, or the Fight something in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I remember showing up, it was the second floor, and that's...
What year is this?
2007.
Okay.
And I think that's where Marcelo used to train originally, if I can remember correctly. And I'll never forget, I went in there with my suit on, everybody else is just normal. And then I get out there, but the good thing was he saw my ears, and he goes, "You wrestle?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, not too much. And then I remember that I just had this problem. I couldn't get it on my back. He just wanted me to keep on going on my back. And I'm like, I can't do that.
He wanted you to start in guard.
So I kept on going flatten out, because in wrestling, all our lives we were taught not to go on your back. So I would flatten out to my stomach, and I would get choked out from behind. But I was great on my feet, though, I have to admit. I would take everyone down, and then after that, just forget about it. I just couldn't do anything. I would be on top squeezing, trying to pin them, and the guy would wait till my arms would like start throbbing, and then they would get me in an arm bar, and I'm like, you know what? It was about 3 months. I'm like, that's it. This is not for me. I'm back to the wrestling.
And you said that you trained with Henzo as well?
Well, they come down. The Gracies, when they were training for the Rio Olympics, they were around the New York Athletic Club. So they used to come there and work around. What a greatest people. Those kids are awesome. So
I know a lot of the Gracies, I know Gregor quite well.
Yep.
Because I'm on Team Polaris. We go and do the quintets together.
Okay.
And I know he has a good basis in wrestling. I know he wrestled in high school and stuff like that. So he's a good wrestler.
They almost, I think, qualified for the Team Brazil.
Really?
Yeah, they were good. They were good. I mean, if they had just started a little earlier.
Yeah.
But I remember that a couple of them competed in the New York Athletic Club tournament as well. And then Henzo was always there. They all usually show up at the Beat the Streets event that we have.
Rob Gracie, he wrestled as well, because I did a seminar with him. He said, "Saeed, come have a look at this." He showed me a little footage of him with a singlet.
Who's that?
He's done an awesome. Your friend, Ross Gracie?
Ross, yeah. He wrestled. He was trying to make the team for the... he was one of the guys that was training with Coach Hamid at the New York Athletic Club.
Yeah, he showed me, after the seminar, he showed me this...
There's a few guys, like back in the day. Holes Gracie. Who was, meant to be, who died in this hang gliding accident.
This is his son, isn't it?
Way back, yeah. Way back in the day. And, who was said to be the greatest ever, Gracie. Yes. He was the one who first started cross-training in wrestling. And they were training, I think, with the Olympic team out there. But you can see pictures of all of them. With Roger's dad, who looks just like,
he wrestled also?
Roger, in his singlet. Who Roger looks just like Mauricio.
Okay.
Oh, they look identical, man. It's crazy. You see an old picture of Mauricio, and you say that's Roger today. But yeah, he used to go and he used to wrestle with them. And
I actually love this single. We did a single leg. You got to see this footage. Go on his Instagram.
Who's that?
Rolls Gracie.
Okay, yeah.
And am I pronouncing the name? Because I'm terrible with.
It'll be Hollis Gracie.
Hollis Gracie.
Yeah. So he showed me the single leg where he was doing it, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
He mentioned, is that Hamid?
Coach Hamid, come on,
Coach Hamid. Yeah, he mentioned, he said, there's a great coach there. He comes in with a suit.
Yeah,
and he's got wrist.
That was my wrestling coach at the New York Athletic Club.
That was like such a small... He said, "Saeed, you got to come over there and meet him." And that's... A couple of guys got mentioned. Carlos Lemos Jr., he mentioned Izzy Martinez. And he says, you got to come and meet him. He's got this really successful school. He's coaching, John Jones and stuff. I was like, okay,
wow.
yeah. So he's a big deal, I think. Izzy, and he's doing a wonderful job with the kids program, I think.
Yep.
Which I think Adam Kemp was wrestling with him a little bit, going and doing some extra lessons with him. But going back to Rose, have a look at his single leg, man.
Yeah,
it's good.
Check it out.
Good.
I know
and he struggles with the single, and he just takes it down. It's like, well,
you were saying you train with Rusem Chiva, right?
Rusem Chiva, that's my boy.
Yeah,
I call him the hairy bear. He's so
he
hairy.
is a bear, man.
Let me tell you, he does this kind of double leg on me. He just squats fully down and gets me every time. And I actually wrestled him 2 weeks ago on Tuesday night.
No way.
Oh, so you're still wrestling a little bit?
And then I kind of limped for 2 days afterwards.
Okay.
I don't know. My wife goes, I don't know if I would call that wrestling. But I do get there. I mean, but he's just unbelievable. The way he moves his hips. A lot of the Eastern Europeans, the hips and the controlling of their hips is unbelievable. But
do they do like drills for that, or?
It's just the way that I think they're taught.
Yeah.
Just bring your hips in. I mean, That's
all
the right way
all
to
of
do
these
it.
guys start at such a young age.
What they do is I think they start around, not so young. They start with positioning, a lot of positioning.
What age do they start though?
8, 9, 10.
It's
But
young-
they don't
young
go
enough.
hard though. But they don't
Yeah.
go hard.
But just like
A lot of games
moving,
is a
Movements, yeah.
movements.
Like I know
and conditioning and stuff.
when I was talking to one of the Russian coaches about my kids, and he's like, "Don't go hard on them. Give them a ball, or play the grab the wrist game.
Yeah.
Like make it fun for them."
But that's precisely what I'm trying to do with the newcomers that are coming
Yeah.
in, not to throw them in the deep and go brutal, give them the games first.
I think that's
and
what the
open up.
misconception is. You just
Yes.
gotta go bang heads. Whereas the Eastern Europeans, like he was telling me, like have one kid grab one leg and the other kid grab the other guy's leg, and then see who would take somebody down. Make it fun. Like if you watch all the Eastern Europeans, they warm up by playing football or basketball, which
Yeah.
is amazing,
You don't do that in the
or
States?
frisbee.
You don't do that in the States?
Now they're starting to. When I was in college, no, we did
But
sprints.
we should indicate something. We should indicate something. The all-out wrestling, it was one method of coming in, which it was, say, Dan Gable. Yeah? Which
Yeah.
was very control-based, controlling the guy through the match. Then came one genius called John Smith. Now, in terms of flow wrestling, fluid wrestling, cheering wrestling, this guy, he just... I mean, Iran is, they're not big at it, but they know they're good.
Yeah.
You know when
Yeah.
you're good. You're BJJ. You know what I mean? You know when you're doing tearing those things. You know you can do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, look at this. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
celebrating that. But John Smith came, and I remember in '92, he was going against the Iranian. I was supporting John.
Yeah.
I wanted John to win.
He
but
was so
purely
smooth.
because he showed you what body can do, and his body type was different for sure.
Yeah.
But now when you see Jordan, all these different guys doing low single, he revolutionized low single.
Yeah.
But by keeping the elbow on the floor and locking the knee and stuff, he just brought people, including himself. He had to go and study himself. So he came out with, different body movements. That that's also wrestling, not just rigid set of wrestling coming on top and wearing a guy out. It's completely different. That was also American.
Yeah.
Now we see his low single everywhere now.
Yeah.
That's John Smith. He's American. So, America, they got those type of wrestlers too.
Yep.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Anyway, before we because it's late here. It's late here, and we got a seminar tomorrow, right?
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, we're coming to do a seminar. I'm looking forward to it, man. But yeah, anything before we finish off? Anything else that we haven't spoken about? You guys want to have a chat about, or
We haven't had a chat yet about how we're going to see the possibility of collaboration
between the two of you?
between two of us for a wrestle for humanity.
Seems like we got the same mission.
Yeah.
So let's see how we could maybe use our resources, or I could kind of pick his brain, or see what
So
else I'm doing.
like for people that are listening that want to help contribute to either of the causes, do you only do the fundraising events, or do you take donations?
I have a
throughout the-
website that direct funds go through it.
Okay.
I've been self-funding it myself.
Yeah. Wait, what's the? Because you've got a few charities. You have the Beat the Streets,
The one I'm doing right now, which is in line with Saeed is doing, and hopefully I could help him out with
the
it.
Humanities one.
Humanities,
Yeah.
humanities.org is the non-for-profit foundation that we put together, and that has been key in helping Kabul, and now I'm helping Brazil. So I'm shifting the focus into
Wow.
Brazil,
Wrestling out
donating
there as well.
5 wrestling mats.
Wow.
So a
I
friend of
think that was
mine,
compatible with my work, isn't it?
exactly.
Because I do
So
seminars to make that little shout.
I even asked Saeed if he one of his BJJ contacts. So
Yeah.
it's got to be in the poor area. Give him a
The favelas
wrestling
and
mat,
stuff,
and
yeah.
those wrestling mats could be used for BJJ
Of
and
course.
wrestling. So
Yeah.
this way, I'm expanding now to that side of the world.
Yeah.
Because once
That's
again,
where David was coming in, because he's got that rescue team,
Who's that?
Brazilian-based. Remember the guy? Another guy was going to join us today.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and he's from Kerno BJJ.
Uh-huh.
I think Roger's got a connection
Sure.
with him, I think. And he's got a company, basically, say Hurricanes when they come in. With Dominica. That was one of the first team they
Yeah.
go in with the planes. They have a look what the problems are. He can open up a lot of doors for us in terms of different countries to poor areas. Perhaps I can do some seminars and stuff. Then Hooman can look at his, they open up his clubs and stuff. Collaboration can come there.
I always say, instead of building churches and mosques, build gyms.
100%.
You'd be surprised how much impact it has.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when my parents took me to religious school, I would run away and
Yeah.
be bad. Put me in a gym, I'm terrified of the coach.
Yeah.
And you know what? It teaches you so.
Iranian
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, like, sports is such an important factor.
It
I mean,
is.
education is part of it, but I think sports, just the good it does, besides the whole like personal injury but the good it does in the long run, I think it's just unbelievable. I mean, give me 10 kids that are into sports, and I give you 10 kids that will change the world for the better.
100%.
I mean, physiology, the chemicals you release, and we all know this. You feel just wonderful coming out of the gym. You're physically tired, but mentally, it's like you feel so good, you know. In terms of the money side of it, I'm looking to raise 10K. So that's the most important thing for me, to buy these mats. So we're going to create a GoFundMe. And
have you done that yet? Or
no, we just wrote down what the aim and objectives are. So we got an idea now.
If anyone's listening, they can follow you on the social medias and stuff.
So I'm going to do. So a couple of things is in the mind. So each one of us, just ourselves, we all doing different challenges, raising £250. That's just individuals. So not so much pressure on the guy. We got till December. But I'm going to put deadlines for him to just bring them together. Also, bigger company, minimum of 500. They're going to be donating just purely for buy our mats. To go on from there for the annual sort of thing. The class has already started. We're looking at a second class. Then we're going to talk to the community to link him with the psychological side of it. But that's a different matter. But I think the first thing is to get the wrestling mat there and start it. The first one, I'm going to invite Mo to come over. Lee Cam's going to come. What's happening now, September, he's coming over. So we're going to go, I got a tour going to...
Lee's coming over?
Lee's coming over.
Oh, wicked.
And if you're interested to provide room, to see if he's, agreeable for your time and stuff, we visit you. That money is going to go towards, because all the flights and his fees not being in there, obviously he's not going to be working. I'm not going to be working. I'm providing that for my own work.
Yeah.
I'm also doing research. So I'm actually a student, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tough. All the other bills, the life sort of thing. But I'm funding that myself. But all the rest of the money going to go towards the mat again. We're going to go then Belgium. From Belgium, I'm going to be touring in Italy, because I'm also head wrestling coach for mat side. And also there's another club. They got about 13 clubs in Sicily. So all through Italy, we're going to be touring, purely bringing them to... They were very interested in Wrestle for Humanity. So to bring that back. So following year, to do the competition here. And also I'm going to go to, I think, LA for 2020. The only guy I kind of little bit, that raised the idea to him, it was Leo Vieira. Because I don't know if you know.
You worked with Leo.
Yeah, I worked with Leo and stuff, and a good relationship. And I liked him as a person, And when they asked me to work with him initially, I didn't even know who he was. And I was that type of guy. You asked me, I just come around and do things. And I don't go and watch things, Then we realized he's such a big champion. Then predominantly,
awesome,
And his personality is special. I mean, I don't know him in details. I was his coach for the wrestling side of it. Then he went to championship, come back. Then they invited me to become a wrestling coach for Checkmat and stuff at the time. Then, his personality stayed with me, quiet, kind, he's so humble. He had time for people, It was very nice to see that. So I've a little bit, I'll probably be coming to LA. He just said, very short as it is, he said, so he just drop me a line when you come in. So food clubs, Senegal, Brazil itself, South Africa's there too. So we're going to go over and see the collaboration. So I'm just going to drop lines, guys, will you support this?
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it very clear where the money's going, I think we got an idea. Initially, we're going to attach it to one charity before we become a charitable company ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that money, because there'll be so much more work there again.
Yeah.
So just let's concentrate on this, Matt, get the money in. Once we're there, we look at the next stage of the business side of it, how we're going to do this. Then that can, do the help.
Yeah.
Make a little scream if we can.
Awesome. Now it's great chance you guys, and I think it's nice for people to hear like how much good that you can do with very small gestures, and you guys aren't doing small gestures.
Can I say
you're
something?
kind of helping. Yeah, absolutely.
On a personal level, I've managed to raise £47,000.
Wow.
That's hobby, just giving it out for seminars here and there, for different people. So now I've decided that's going to become. I'm not satisfied with just giving it. What I was just saying, it needs to become a proper annual event.
I think as you do things like this, it kind of it sparks the idea in other people's heads, and you end up with more people.
You said it. I want it to become an idea now, rather than just a hobby. It was. I want to activate that,
and it's not a one-man mission. Once again, I mean, the more people jump in on board and they have their own journey, and then the end place is the same. Just trying to create hope through sports, especially the sports that we do, that we don't get the airtime or the funding.
We got to help ourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, even basic help, just social media, posting it, advertising for Saeed here. And once again, like I say, kindness is contagious, man. I mean, just make someone to smile.
Who was a wrestler in USA national team got recently injured in practice?
Rick Perry.
Rick Perry.
Yep.
And there was a challenge was going on, and I saw it. Reese Humphrey. And I don't know Reese Humphrey.
Yep.
I knew he was commenting on some of our posts when Lee Cam was coming over, and I saw him when he's reaching out. So for reaching out for the wrestling world, I started reaching out for the BJJ world and the rugby guys I work with. In Bristol. So we started raising money, just like, we don't know this guy, but, he's reaching out. I see it as a responsibility, as a responsibility towards just being a human, something we got to learn how to be a human,
Anyway, guys, that was like very, very cool. Really, really enjoyed chatting to both of you. Very nice to meet you,
Thanks
Mo, and to have you back on.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm looking forward to learning some wrestling for you guys tomorrow. So
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward
Neil
to it.
Hill.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
First time.
But thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
That is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to find out any more about either of the guys or all of the great charitable work that both of them are doing, you can check them out on social media. On Instagram, you can find Saeed. He is at coach_Esmaeli. And you can find Hooman, who is at Humanities. And yeah, I'm sure you can find links to sort of all of the other stuff that we spoke about. Maybe this podcast has inspired you to do a little bit, give back a little bit to through the sport that you like. If you see any of the stuff that either of these guys are doing, feel free to kind of help them out and help them raise funds, because they're both doing great work. As always, if you want to contact the podcast, then you can find me on social media, mainly on Instagram, at raspberry_ape. Same address for Twitter, but I don't use it quite as much. But it's a nice novelty. If someone messaged me on Twitter, then I will tweet you back or whatever you twit about. You can also email the podcast, which is podcast@raspberryape.com. And you can find my website, which is raspberryape.com, or my YouTube channel, where this video and many other videos of me doing podcasts and other stuff will be, which is at youtube.com/raspberryape. Hope you enjoyed this episode, guys, and I will catch you next time.